Welcome back to Sunday Mystery School. Today we are going straight into the heart of Neville Goddard's mystic teachings. Straight into the heart. And we're going to talk about what his most important teaching is. Now, Neville Goddard was active for a very long time. His teaching career spanned from the 1930s all the way up to his passing in 1972. And he talked about a lot of different things. He wrote a lot of books. He has transcripts of his lectures published, and it's not even all of them, and it's over 300. Okay, so his work is voluminous. So to really get to the heart of his work is to really distill a lot of what he said and to hone in on and focus on that core message, that core teaching. If there's one key takeaway idea, if you only hear one thing from Neville through his mouth, right? What is that one thing that he would want you to understand? Okay, and today we're going to dive right into the heart of that. And for our purposes this morning, that topic is prayer. It is prayer. Prayer is the single most important teaching that Neville gave us because it is the core of everything that he really taught. It's this idea of being able to shift your identity from the person you were before into the person you desire to be. And prayer is a mystical union with that feeling of the wish fulfilled. Okay, now our text, we're going to go straight into Neville's teachings, straight from his book. This is a treasury. We're going to read from Your Faith is Your Fortune, which is one of the books, one of his many books that he published where he talks about prayer. But in particular, we're going to go to chapter 17 in Your Faith is Your Fortune. We're going to read from the text, and we're going to expand and interpret and update and modernize this idea of prayer as we go. Let me go ahead and put the text up on the screen for you all. Okay, and let's go ahead and get into it. So Neville introduces this idea of prayer with Bible verses. Okay, what does the Bible say about prayer? Not what does the Catholic Church say about prayer? Not what does man, locally, your influences around you, not what other people say about prayer. What is the Bible, right? That root fundamental teaching, the mystical scriptures. What is the instruction conveyed through the scriptures? And that's how Neville starts this chapter. He quotes Matthew 6:6, and that quote is as follows. When you pray, enter into your closet, and when you have shut the door, pray to your Father which is in secret, and your Father which sees in secret shall reward you openly. It's Matthew 6:6. And then the second quote here is, what things soever you desire, whatever it is that you desire, when you pray, believe you have received them, and you shall have them. And that's Mark 11:24. Okay, so let's begin our discussion about prayer, our revisiting of this single most important teaching that Neville left us, with a question. Do you remember a time when you were a person different from who you are right now? Can you remember a time in your life when you were a different person than who you are right now? You've got the same name, the same photo on your driver's license, the same birth date. You came from the same family. Your physical, biological identity has not changed, but you can honestly say, I was a different person back then. Can you think of an example in your life of a time when you were a different person than who you are right now? At the School of Imagination, our premium training is called Brave Mystic Training. And in Brave Mystic Training, there's 4 gates. And the first of the 4 gates is called the Echo of Before. the echo of before. And that's what this question is designed to surface. Can you remember a time when you were a person different than who you are right now? And again, I'm not talking about your physical identity. I'm not talking about, the name on your driver's license. I'm talking about the state that you're in, the identity of the soul that is operating, the part that you're playing, right? That character that you're playing, the scripts, the identity, this is who I believe that I am as I move through my world. Was there a time when you defined that identity of that character differently than how you define it right now? And if so, that's what we call the echo of before. And the echo before is important because it is a key. It is a key that sets you free. It sets you free by using your own evidence of your own lived experience that you have been other people than who you are right now. You're not relying on anyone else to tell you that you have the ability to change states. You know from personal lived experience by reviewing your own life and all of the characters you've played in your life, you know that you've been someone other than who you are being right now. And this becomes a key that unlocks a new truth for you. And that truth is you have the power to change states. You have the power to become someone other than who you're being right now. And you know this because you have evidence. You have lived experience. You can say, well, I am currently now a different person than who I used to be. And so that inherently means I can choose again to become a different person than who I am right now. And this is the core teaching of states, okay? States of being, okay? Because, the character that you're playing evolves, it shifts, it changes. And a lot of that comes down to, well, really there's two main threads in who you're choosing to be. One is your soul identity and the life that you planned out for yourself to live before you ever incarnated and took on human form. And then the other main thread is your free will. You have the ability to choose always, even though you scripted out a lot of your life before you came and took on human form, you still have the ability to choose who you're going to be right now, who you're going to be, in the present moment, who you're going to be in the future. You have the ability to choose. And that choice, that ability to choose is a key that sets you free. Okay, so I say that because this whole idea of prayer, which is Neville's most important teaching, this whole idea of prayer is about becoming united with a new state of being. Not thinking of it, not daydreaming about it. This is no, wouldn't it be nice if I could be different than how I am? We're talking about a mystical union. This is about becoming. It's about a process of changing who you are on purpose, which is a function of authorship. Okay, so it is your authorship that is writing into being the character that you're playing in this moment. And here's the thing. A lot of who you're being right now is based on your old scripts. Okay, that's true for everyone. That's just how it is. It's like we're not always writing newness into being. A lot of times we wrote something, a couple years ago, a couple decades ago, yesterday, and now we're just accepting that as true and we're playing that out, and that defines our state. Okay, so if we're going to change our state, we need to write a new part, and we need to become one with the new character that is playing that part. And that is what prayer is all about. Okay, so I give this as a preface because we're about to get very mystical here. Okay, we're very mystical. He's going to talk about it as the most wonderful experience you can have. He's going to talk about this sheer ecstasy, okay, almost like an ethereal orgasm of becoming. Okay, so to understand what he means when he's talking about this mystical union, we have to understand we are rewriting a new part for our character to play, and then we are merging our conscious I am presence into this new character, and that is prayer. Okay, so let's go to the text and let's hear it from Neville. Prayer is the most wonderful experience anyone can have. Unlike the daily murmurings of the vast majority of mankind in all lands who by their vain, useless repetitions hope to gain the ear of God. Prayer is the ecstasy of a spiritual wedding taking place in the deep, silent stillness of consciousness. This is not murmuring, mumbling, thinking of some external being, hoping that they will look favorably upon you to give you a blessing. This is a mystical wedding. It is a union in the silence of your being, in your I am, right, which is drawing your awareness inward, in the deep, silent stillness of consciousness. That's where this mystical wedding is taking place. It has nothing to do with anyone or anything or any entity or any deity outside of you. It is in the inner stillness of your being. Neville says, in its true sense, prayer is God's marriage ceremony. Prayer is God's marriage ceremony. Just as a maid on her wedding day relinquishes the name, this is important, relinquishes the name of her family to assume the name, again with the names, the name of her husband. In like manner, one who prays must relinquish, let go of the name, which means nature, okay? The name or nature of that old identity, you must relinquish or let go of that name or nature and now assume the name and nature of that for which you pray, for that of which you are marrying in God's marriage ceremony as a new identity of the character that the soul that you are, the I am presence that you are, is now playing. The Gospels have clearly instructed man as to the performance of this ceremony in the following manner. Okay, so this is a ceremony. A ceremony. The Bible, the mystical scriptures, right? These beings who were channeling the source that we all are and wrote down codes to help us unlock the operating system of reality. The Gospels have instructed us as to how to perform this ceremony. And this is what it says. When you pray, go within in secret, shut the door, and your Father, who sees in secret, will reward you openly. The going within is the entering of the bridal chamber. Just as no one other than the bride and groom are permitted to enter so holy a room as the bridal suite on the night of a marriage ceremony. Likewise, no one but the one who prays and that for which he prays are permitted to enter the holy hour of prayer. The holy hour of prayer. As the bride and the groom, on entering the bridal suite, securely shut the door against the outside world, so too must the one who enters the holy hour of prayer close the door of the senses and entirely shut out the world round about them. This is accomplished by taking the attention completely away from all things other than that with which you are now in love, which is the thing desired. Okay, let's go a layer deeper. Do you marry someone that you do not love? Would you marry someone that you do not love? Would you take the sacred vows and oaths of commitment to one you did not love? I would imagine your answer is no. I would imagine your answer is no. The true desire of your heart would be to marry the one that you love. Now, I'm speaking in a human relationship context, but now let's switch that context to the marriage ceremony of God, which is your I am consciousness. Would you marry your I am consciousness to a state that you did not love? Would you take that oath of commitment? Would you make that promise to give life and essence and being and to treasure and be one with the name and nature of a state that you did not love? I imagine your answer again is no. Why is this important? Why am I asking this question? It's important to take this marriage ceremony seriously. And rather than attempting to marry every fleeting idea that enters into your mind, oh, I could be this, oh, I could be this other thing, oh, I could be the third thing. Choose the one that you truly love, okay, your soulmate state. The man, the woman, the human that you desire to be, okay, the one that lights you up in a way unlike anything else lights you up. Remember, it's the most wonderful experience anyone can have. It is sheer ecstasy. Okay, so why would you waste that on anything less than your ideal? Okay, so if you're going to go into the silence of your own being, and if God is going to enter into a marriage ceremony, you better choose that bride, choose that groom, right? It's the melding of the two, right? Choose that with intention, respecting the sacred essence of what is happening here, where you're choosing to unite the consciousness that you are with, and choosing to make it that which you love deeply, wholeheartedly. So this is where we could take a rabbit trail and talk about true desires. Okay, true desires. We're not going to go there today. It's a voluminous topic, but here's the key idea you need to understand about true desires. Okay, so true desires are desires of the soul. Okay, a true desire is not inspired by someone else telling you that you should want something or you should be a certain way. Okay, a true desire is inner directed. Okay, it's your author inside of you looking at your character and saying, it is the true desire of the source essence that I am, the God that I am, for this character to be this way. That's the true desire. That's the only desire you will ever love. Okay, in the truest sense. You can lust after desires and you can love desires, but we don't marry, at least I hope we don't marry the people we lust after. Hopefully we marry the people, kind of merging the analogies here, the states that we love. We take our attention completely away from all things other than that with which we are now in love. Okay, so this is the idea of becoming single-minded focus. Single-minded focus. It's not, oh, I want to be this way. Oh, but what if it happens this way? Or what if it happens this other way? Or I'm afraid of this, or I'm afraid of that, or this person might not like it. No, all of that is like opening up the bridal suite and welcoming in strangers who have no business being in the bridal suite of God. Okay, so you literally shut out all of that noise and you go into the silence. Close the doors of the senses. Okay, let's talk about this really practically for a second. You can pray anytime, any place, right? 24/7, 365. You don't have to do a bunch of rigmarole, right? A bunch of setup to do it. And also, it's important to teach what the setup is because some of us need to learn how to do the ceremony. Okay, so, do you have to do what I'm about to tell you? No. Take your authorship back. Understand that this is your power. And I'm also going to describe to you one way of doing it. Okay, so one way that I enter into prayer. I use an eye mask to block out all the light so that I'm only aware of what is behind my eyes, which is also my inner essence. I put in headphones and I play brainwave entrainment tracks that help me achieve that single-minded focus. Okay, so with the help of binaural entrainment, I can bring my brain waves into coherence. Okay, this is the benefit of living in the modern era. We've got all these little hacks and tips and tricks. Using brainwave entrainment tracks, I can bring my brain into single-minded focus. I can train it over time using brainwave tracks to achieve this single-minded focus. Okay, and then I use heart coherence, which is a practice I've taught extensively on this channel. Look it up if you haven't heard that before. Heart coherence. Use heart coherence, which merges the intelligence of my head brain, my heart brain, and my gut brain. All together, I become one whole system, one complete whole intelligence with single-minded focus. And then I lay down on my Shakti mat, okay, which is a spike mat, uses acupressure points all across the back and shoulders up into the back of the head. Why do I do that? Well, again, this is not necessary, but this is an example of the ceremony. The acupressure points cause a deep state of relaxation. It is a SATS practice. What is SATS? It's an acronym, SATS, state akin to sleep. Okay, Andrew Huberman calls it no sleep, deep rest, NSDR. No sleep, deep rest, SATS. Okay, a lot of different names for the same thing. Okay, well, it just so happens that when you have all of these little acupressure points pushing into all of the major muscles across your back and shoulders, it creates a profound whole body relaxation. Okay, so I'm completely de-armored. I've released all of my muscle tension. I'm not bracing against anything. I'm in a place of no fear, complete openness. My heart is open. My intelligence is coherent. Brain, heart, gut, all of my systems are online, and I'm in single-minded focus. That is an extreme, sophisticated example of going within and shutting the door of the senses to perform a marriage ceremony. Okay, so the states that I've been able to connect with and embody in sheer ecstasy from this setup feels like God's marriage ceremony. And that's why I share all the details with you. If you haven't had this experience, do it, right? You're human, you're alive, you're on planet Earth. Like, live a little, right? Live a little, experience the wedding ceremony of God. Marry yourself to the state of the feeling of the wish fulfilled, of being the human that you, with all of your heart, desire to be. We're going to keep going. The second phase of this spiritual ceremony is defined in these words. When you pray, believe that you have received. You already have it. You can feel it now. All time is now. It is a now present reality. And if you do this when you pray, if you believe that you have received, you shall receive. Meaning, you will see evidence in the hardened plastic of reality, okay, which is yourself pushed out. It is your state made visible. It is the contents of your mind and your state of consciousness projected onto a screen in the reality around you. That is what it means. If you believe you have received, you shall. You will see evidence of the state that you now believe yourself to be through this mystical wedding ceremony of your I am consciousness, the name of God, taking on the name and nature of who you desire to be. As you joyfully contemplate being and possessing that which you desire to be and to have, you have taken this second step and are therefore spiritually performing the acts of marriage and generation. Okay, so the act of marriage is the two becoming one. And the act of generation is the pregnancy that occurs out of that consummation of the marriage. Okay, so in other places, Neville gets, still in a classy way, a little bit more explicit. He describes this as an ethereal orgasm. When you really do this, and you really do it, your energy body discharges. There is a release as you become one with the state contemplated. And this release is akin to a seed being planted in the womb of God. And that's why he says you are spiritually performing the acts of marriage, which is the two becoming one, the name becoming the same, and generation, which is the planting of the seed in the womb of God, which gives birth to the evidence in the world around you, reflecting back to you the arrangement of your mind, which is your state of consciousness. Continuing with Neville's words, he says, your receptive attitude of mind while praying or contemplating can be likened to a bride or womb, for it is that aspect of mind which receives the impressions. That which you contemplate being is the groom. Okay, so the state that you're contemplating is the groom, impressing upon that part of you that can receive impressions like a womb. Some might call that the subconscious mind, but really it's just that infinite, endless, impressionable I am state that you are that can wear different costumes and states of being. That which you contemplate being is the groom, for it is the name or nature you assume, and therefore is that which leaves its impregnation. So one dies to maidenhood or your present nature as one assumes the name and nature of impregnation. Lost in contemplation and having assumed the name and nature of the thing contemplated, your whole being thrills with the joy of being it. This thrill, which runs through your whole being, your entire being, as you appropriate the consciousness of your desire, is the proof that you are both married and impregnated. As you return from this silent meditation, the door is once more opened upon the world you had left behind. But this time, you return as a pregnant bride. Okay, so we've talked about this before, but I'm gonna bring it up again. If you do this process, this wedding ceremony correctly, you do not come back from prayer the same person that you were when you entered into prayer. You come back a different person. Okay, you are not asking an external being for anything. You are changing the very nature of who you are. You are assuming something new. So when you come back, you are not the same person you are as when you left. And if you come back from prayer and you still feel like you're the same person who entered into prayer, you haven't completed the act. Chances are you didn't close the door of the senses. You probably let all of the other competing ideas crowd in. Maybe you weren't able to focus your attention. Okay, so get yourself some tools and try again. And you will know when you have prayed successfully, when you come back and you realize you are not the same person you were when you left. In Neville's words, he says, "You come back a pregnant bride." Last week, we were talking about renunciation. It was the last episode of Sunday Mystery School. We're talking about renunciation, which is this idea of taking your attention away from the things that you no longer desire to feed the energy and currency, the money of your attention. And last week, I shared a story. It's a secondhand story from a friend of mine about a man that he met in the islands. And this, they were talking about their meditation practices. And this man talked about how instead of meditating in the traditional way that, various modalities teach about emptying your mind and becoming nothing, his method of meditating for the last, 30, 40 years was to sit down quietly in the morning, every morning. And for 10, 15, or 20 minutes, contemplate who he wanted to be as a man for that day. Who am I choosing to be as a man, as a leader? And he would fill his mind with these qualities of character every day. To me, that sounds like a man who prays in the morning, sits down in the silence. He develops his focus and his concentration. And he becomes supremely focused on the feeling of what it feels like to be the man that he desires to be. And he lets that contemplation crowd out to all other competing ideas. And you know what? When he returns from that contemplation, he is that man. You enter the world a changed being. And although no one but you knows of this wonderful romance, the world will, in a very short while, see the signs of your pregnancy. For you will begin to express that which you, in your hour of silence, felt yourself to be. The mother of the world, or bride of the Lord, is purposely called Mary, which means water. For water loses its identity as it assumes the nature of that with which it is mixed. Likewise, in the same way, Mary, which is the Bible's word for the receptive attitude of mind, must lose its identity as it assumes the nature of the thing desired. Only as one is willing to give up his present limitations and identity. Wow, what a sentence. Are you willing to give up your present limitations and identity? It's an honest question. You have to answer honestly. You can't just say, yeah, Josiah, I'm willing to give that up. Sounds great, let's do it. No, you have to go into the silence and say, am I ready to be married? Am I ready to do this? Ready to give up my former limitations? Am I willing to surrender my identity? Only as you are willing to do this can you become that which you desire to be. Bottom third of this page here. Prayer is the formula by which such divorces and marriages are accomplished. Oh, what a word, Neville. You're going to drop divorce in here? Well, yeah, think about it. It's the marriage of God. Can you remember a time when God in you was married to a different version of yourself, a different state? Yeah, you got to divorce the old man, the old woman, the old state. You got to divorce them. You got to let them go. And you got to get remarried to the person that you truly desire to be. Two shall agree as touching anything, and it shall be established on earth. Now, I was taught by people maybe who just didn't know any better that this meant you needed another person to agree with you before a prayer would become realized. It's a very clever way of getting people to outsource their power. But Neville clears this up. He says, the two agreeing are you, the bride, and the thing desired, the groom. As this agreement is accomplished, a son bearing witness of this union will be born. You begin to express and possess that which you are conscious of being. Praying then is recognizing yourself to be that which you desire, rather than begging God for that which you desire. Okay, so you can either beg God for what you desire, or you can recognize that you are what you desire. And that second way, recognizing that you are what you desire, that is the marriage ceremony of God. That's the true nature of prayer. Millions of prayers are daily unanswered because man prays to a God who does not exist. Okay, it's like sending an email to an invalid address. Okay, there is no God outside of you. You can't email God. Okay, so you're gonna get a bounce, right? It's gonna bounce back. Consciousness is God. Consciousness being God. One must seek in consciousness for the thing desired by assuming the consciousness of the quality desired. Okay, I need to go deeper here. All right, so remember I'm talking to you about the marriage ceremony of God. I'm talking to you about how, for me, my practice when I'm doing this in a very alive way, eye mask, headphones, brainwave entrainment, Shakti mat, close the door, an hour laying on my Shakti mat, going into the silence, going into the deep. Why does it take that level of concentration and focus? Because I'm changing identity. Okay, I'm not just saying, oh, I want to be this way. Okay, cool, I've got it. No, I am identifying what it is, that nature, that quality, that name that I'm ready to assume as my new identity, and I am beckoning it. Draw near to me, my son, that I may feel you. Draw near to me, my son, that I may feel you. Okay, so when I enter into prayer, I know the archetype of what it is I am becoming. And then I am drawing that energy closer and closer to me. Okay, it's like going into the fitting room and taking off all your clothes and standing naked in front of the mirror and then saying, okay, now I'm ready to dress myself as the man I desire to be. And then with care, article of clothing by article of clothing, from the underwear to the socks, to the shirt, the pants, the belts, the shoes, right? The jewelry. Okay, I am fully clothing myself in that man that I desire to be. And this isn't something I do in 10 seconds. Okay, I'm changing identities. This is a wedding union. And I'm treating it as such. So I'm drawing that feeling closer and closer to me. Now, a lot of people struggle with this because they can't get the focus necessary to do this. This is where brainwave entrainment tracks can help, but really, you're a human being. You need to learn how to focus. You do. It comes down to practice. Okay, attention is a skill. It's something that can be trained. Okay? You need to learn how to focus so you can be all that you can be as a human being. It really comes down to focus. You want to express your potential, you need to learn how to focus in life. Okay, so cultivate this skill of focus. Use brainwave tracks if it helps you get this single-minded purpose. But for that hour, you're in the silence, you are only thinking of this feeling of the wish fulfilled. You are drawing it near to yourself. You are clothing yourself in it. And now your whole life, everything that you knew about your former life is being repainted. Okay, it's like remodeling the house in which you live. Everything is refreshed. It's new. It's got a new coat of paint because now you're a new person. Okay, you're trying this on, right? You're getting comfortable in the clothes. And that's why when you come out of the silence, you are a different person. You feel different. Your energy feels clean and clear and aligned. Okay. And this is also why you come out of that silence and now you're carrying that pregnancy and someone, let's say they say something that contradicts the person you just became. You are completely unfazed. Why? Because there's no vulnerability in your energy field. You have fully merged with that new identity. No one outside of you can say anything that would challenge the marriage ceremony that you just conducted, right? I'm wearing the ring. I'm married, right? That's you coming out of the silence. I'm married. I'm pregnant. Not going to take anybody else there, say, oh, no, you're not. What? Right? Completely ignore any evidence to the contrary. And you will have the confidence to do that when you go through this process and become the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Okay, let's finish with Neville's final ideas here. Only as one seeks in consciousness, draw near, my son, that I may feel you. The quality desired, only as one does this will their prayers be answered. To be conscious of being poor while praying for riches is to be rewarded with that which you are conscious of being. In this case, poverty. Prayers to be successful must be claimed. I am successful and appropriated. I give this identity to myself. Assume the positive consciousness of the thing desired. Assume the positive consciousness, the charge. That's what he's talking about, the electrical charge. Assume the electrical charge of the thing desired. And with this desire defined, quietly go within, shut the door behind you. Lose yourself in your desire. Feel yourself to be one with your desire. Remain in this, hear this word, fixation. Neville says, remain in the fixation. It is fixed. You are aligned with it. You are married to it. It's a fixation. Okay? Remain in this fixation until you have absorbed the life and name by claiming and feeling yourself to be and to have that which you desired. In the past tense, okay? That which you desired. You don't want it anymore. When you come out of the silence and you're pregnant, you can't say, I want to be pregnant when you're pregnant. You either are or you aren't. And if you are, you can't want to be. Remain in this fixation until you have absorbed the life and name by claiming and feeling yourself to be and have that which you desired. When you emerge from the hour of prayer, you must do so conscious of being and possessing that which you previously desired. Okay, you used to desire it. That was before you became married. You used to want to be married. You used to want to be pregnant. Now you are married. Now you are pregnant. You no longer want those things. You are that. Thank you, Neville. Thank you, Neville Goddard. Speaking for all of us, we are so profoundly grateful for the work this man left behind. Thank you, Neville Goddard, for fulfilling your mission with such beauty and integrity. Thank you for the magic and the power of the internet to connect us so we can talk about it in 2025 in a global way. If you are a member of the channel Mastermind, if you have joined the channel, you're a member of the Mastermind, hop into the Zoom room. We're going to continue with a mastermind discussion of these ideas. And for everyone else on YouTube, either watching live or the replay, thank you for being here. I trust that this has inspired you in some way. And don't be a hearer only, but rather choose to do what you have heard today. Imagine wisely, my friends. And I will see you all in the next.